So in my last video on writing instruction, I asked teachers to tell me the thing that their students struggled with the most, and overwhelmingly it was having students stay on topic in their writing. So this could be really frustrating to grade. I've found that it takes me 2 or 3 times longer to grade student writing when they're off topic because I'm in my brain trying to kind of piece together where things are supposed to go and rearrange it so that it makes sense and I can actually give them some feedback. So this is something that I really focus on in my classroom with students because staying on topic can make or break your entire writing piece. In this video, I'm going to give you the lessons and tips that I use to easily help my students stay on topic, no matter what type of writing piece we're working on or the level of the writer. If you're new to my channel, I'm April Smith. I'm an upper elementary teacher who loves to teach writing, and I love to share all the tips and tricks that I've learned teaching writing to a variety of different students throughout the year. Before we get started, let me know in the comments about how many of your students are really struggling to stay on topic. Is it 50%? Is it 100%? Try to give me a good estimate of how many students are struggling with that right now. Okay, my number one strategy for helping students stay on topic is our mini lesson on planning. So it's not as simple as an organizer, but planning and teaching students how to plan is the best way to overcome the problem of not staying on topic. So unfortunately, you can't just give students an organizer, teach them how to use it, and then have them magically stay on topic. This is kind of a 3-part system. So the first part is the organizer. So you're actually modeling a mini lesson. I create a very simple 2-column notes table where I have them do the categories and all of their elaborations, their facts, their definitions, examples, all of the body content. So we do organize by category, and we do put the information from their brain dump and any research that they have. We do that and I model it. The problem is that some students put the wrong information in the wrong boxes. So you have the same issue here as you do in their actual writing pieces. So here's my 3-step system. The first thing that we do is we brainstorm, and that looks a little different depending on the writing piece. In this situation, we have an opinion piece, so our brainstorming actually includes an area for their ideas and also for evidence from the text, because that's a skill they have to use in opinion writing. So from here, they've got a lot of ideas, and then they have to categorize these ideas. So this is 1 day's lesson, 1 day's work, and then we move on to this where we're actually categorizing it. So let me show you what this looks like, and then I'll explain how to get to that 3rd step where students are making sure that their categories match their examples and their content. That's the most important thing before you even move on at all to the rough draft. So the prompt that I'm using for this model for my students is which would help your community the most, a new fire station or a new hospital. In this case, we are choosing hospital. So we've brainstormed a ton of ideas from the writing or the reading passage and also from our own ideas as to why a hospital would really be more helpful than a fire station for our individual community. So now what we need to do is I need to show students how to properly classify. So we need to come up with some different categories for all of the information that we have. So what I do with my students is I go through every single category or every single detail, and then we look for patterns, okay? These details line up with helping more patients. These details line up with just having newer technology. And then these other ones line up with all the money stuff, so helping the local economy. So what we do is we brainstorm, we go through all the details, we kind of brainstorm the different categories that they fall into. That's really the hardest part. And when students go to do this themselves, I always have them work with a partner or in a small group, and that way they're getting ideas and kind of sorting through their information and coming up with the categories, because it really is the hardest part for students. It's a lot easier when they're back with me and doing our mini lesson and we're all discussing it, and then it's just more supportive. So I always try to give them that support system so that they're not just doing this independently. So here's what we would put on the left-hand side for category. One of our categories would be helping patients. Another category would be new technology or equipment. And another one is like money, so helping the economy. So our local economy, new jobs, all of those things. So what we did is we took these details that we already brainstormed the day before, and we categorized 3 or 4 categories that they kind of fit into. So we had a few about money and jobs, so that was a good label for those. We had a few about new technology, updated equipment. Some of them had shared that they had been in the hospital or ER with a family member and noticed that a lot of the equipment was really dirty and slow and not working correctly. And then just helping patients in general, being able to serve more people, being able to give medical attention more quickly. Students had a lot to share about this topic, which is very interesting. So now we go back to our brainstorming from the prior day. We've already used this information to create categories, but now we go through and we take out each piece of information and we put it in the right category and we cross it off. And that's where we get to step number 3, which I'm almost at, I promise, but this is really the secret sauce. Step 3 is the secret sauce to making sure that students are on topic for each paragraph. Okay, so what I do is, let's say we have the first one is just being faster medical attention in the ER. So that would go here. If it's an actual quote from the text, I have them copy over the quote part. We do pull quotes from the text, and I don't want it to get into their writing without the actual quote. Very important that we have that and we cite our sources, so I make sure that we do that as well. But for this example, I'm just going to show you their ideas so it's quicker for me to write. Another one would be more services for more people. Okay, so we do this and I model it until we have everything filled out. Again, this is from our brainstorming, so we've already come up with these ideas. We've already read the text and moved those ideas that we liked over to support our opinion. But really what we're doing here is organizing the paragraphs. So once we have this all filled out, we have paragraph 1, body paragraph 1. We have our introduction, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3. So here's where we have issues when students get to their side. They put things in the wrong place. It's a good thing they use pencil and not these markers, because what we do is we sit down in either partners or small groups and students work together to read each one and make sure it's in the right place. So there's a lot of discussion going on. This isn't a situation where students will sit and they'll hold some students' paper and then they'll cross things out and move it around. It's an actual ongoing discussion. So the person who has this planning paper, they share it with their partner, and then them and the partner together look and see if there's anything that's in the wrong place. So that's where we get to having an actual planning page that is correct. So that was step 3, which was our secret sauce, is making sure that we're building in revision. In this case, revision is going in and with a partner, making sure everything is in the right place before we actually use this in our body paragraphs. So when we get to our body paragraphs, the simple thing that I do is I model for my students body paragraph 1, creating my topic sentence, and then in order, using the information from that section, crossing it out, and then going back to our paper and labeling number 1 everywhere in that paragraph, which is, I know it's overkill, but I just want to know that every single thing in here is a 1. So they didn't pull anything from 2, they didn't pull anything from 3. And then what they do is cross it out, and then they're ready for body paragraph number 2. So I model each step of this process from this brainstorming organizer, that's 1 lesson, to this organization planner, that's lesson 2, then to the revision step, which is lesson 3, and then into the body paragraphs, which is lesson 4. Okay, we do have our introduction in between, but the introduction isn't as much about organization and staying on topic. It's a little bit, but not as much as this process. So we do have that in between, so keep that in mind. But those are really the 4 lessons that focus the most on staying on topic. Okay, now let's say your students are still struggling with this concept. So they've gotten the help from a partner or from you to make sure that everything's good to go in their planning before they get to their paragraphs, but they're still not on topic and their sentences are still out of order when they get to the actual writing piece. So we do have a couple other things that you can do. The first one being to actually teach using a writing intervention unit that we have, which shows them how to take pieces of a paragraph and arrange them in a way where it's on topic and it flows and makes sense. So taking pieces of other people's work and having to have some critical thinking skills and looking at where those exactly go, it's a really good exercise for these students. So a lot of times they really don't get the purpose of going directly from their planning to their body paragraphs, or they get kind of confused or off task and things end up jarbled. So doing an intervention unit with those students, maybe one or two of those during the week, is super helpful. Some students also really benefit from color coding their paragraphs. So instead of just labeling number 1 for paragraph 1 and all the details from their planning guide, and 2 as 2, it might be helpful for them to color code. So they can color code the different paragraphs. So everything that goes with this topic for paragraph 1 is purple. Everything that goes for this topic for paragraph 2 is blue. So a lot of times we do the red, yellow, green, or different color coding system for topic, body content, and our transition or conclusion sentence, when in reality it might be easier for those kids to color code what information goes in what paragraph, and then we can worry about the other pieces later. Because in all honesty, the most important thing is that all of the content in the paragraph matches the topic sentence, and then we can work with the topic sentence and our last sentence of the paragraph. We can work with that a little later. We just want to make sure the stuff's in the right place. My last tip is to use student exemplars so that students can actually see how the organization looks in a writing piece. Maybe a writing piece that would be like a 2, and maybe a writing piece that would be a 4, which is going to be a much higher score. So if you take exemplars and you compare those 2 exemplars, how do they notice not only the organization, but staying on topic? How does that affect the score of the paper? Now, I don't use actual student writing samples because that can embarrass my students. So I actually have exemplars that I actually use that I've written to show the difference. And that allows me to also show them exactly what I want them to see. So actually looking at being off topic as a lower score, and organization really shining through on a 4 score. So those are things that I personally like to make sure that I build into my exemplar so that I can really show it in my lessons. That can be kind of time consuming though, so if this is something you're really interested in, maybe you want the guidance for your students, you want the interventions, you want the exemplars, and you don't want to have to do any of the work yourself, check the link in the description for Simplify Writing, which is our writing program that includes this entire system. All of the interventions, everything that your students need, including exemplars so they can actually see this in different scored writings, the rubrics you need to grade them, and all of your lesson plans. If your students struggle with paragraph writing, I'm also going to link to a free resource that you can grab in the description, and that one will help you work on paragraph writing with your students. It's an actual intervention unit or a piece of one of our intervention units, so it's got some great organizers for that color coding piece and helping your students understand the parts of a paragraph, which is kind of where we go after we have the organization down. If you want me to make more videos on student struggles and lessons you can use to overcome those struggles, just like this one, let me know in the comments what topics you want me to discuss next, and make sure that you subscribe and also click the bell notifications button, because that way when I make the video, you'll be notified. Also give a thumbs up to the video, that helps me a lot, and it also helps other teachers get this important information. If I can leave you with one thing today, it would be that organization is the best way to make sure that your students are on topic in their writing. You just have to be strategic about how you teach it and how your students practice it, and build in that little revision piece to make sure that everything's good to go before they get to their paragraph writing. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.